Hi everyone, so here's the video I promised regarding the picture of the 1967 Morris Cooper S I put up. Um, this video is basically just to go through a bit of information about the car and also why I never post it. Um, this story I've kept to myself and close family members for the past, good few years now, at least 8 years. 7 years, something like that. So what I'll do is I'll tell you a little bit about the car, a little bit about the history that I know of, and then ultimately where it is and what happened to it. So I was going to put this up on Instagram, but I think it might be a bit too long, so I think I'll stick it up on YouTube as well. But I'll put a post out on Instagram telling people they can go there to watch it or whatever else. But anyway, so the car that I posted was a very late 1967 Morris Cooper S. So it had twin tanks in that one because they were made standard after a certain date. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. So it had hydro suspension on it as well. Remember that because the back end had collapsed. Very original car. My dad, who was the head of the Scottish Mini Cooper Register side of things, so he dealt with everything up this neck of the woods. I don't know if anybody knows him, but his name was Graham Allen. So anyway, he managed to source this Cooper S, and it was I wouldn't say elderly woman, but a woman in her late 40s, maybe, down near Carlisle. So anyway, he came home one Friday, told me and my brother that we were going to pick up a car at the weekend, and we got dragged down. So went to go see the car, and it was tucked in the back of this garage. So the idea was to move the other cars and get it out. It was a bit of a dodgy situation with regards to this car because, from what I can recall, the woman was going through a divorce, so she was trying to get rid of assets before her husband could take half of them. So she asked that when we were trailering the car home, if we could take the back road out of the village because her husband, or sorry, soon to be ex-husband, lived on the main road. So she didn't want to see the car, want him to see the car going past on a trailer. So we had to take the back roads out. Anyway, whilst trying to get the car out of the garage, obviously it had been there for quite some time. So when we tried to move it, someone had left the handbrake on for God knows how many years, so the back brakes had seized. So thought the usual, hammer on the back drums might loosen it off, but when we were trying to take the wheel nuts off, two of the studs snapped. So we decided, no, not going to do any more, because if a third stud snapped, we would have been at shit creek. So we decided to attach a bit of rope to it, and attach the other end to the car and yank it and see if it would come off, and it did. So thankfully we managed to get the car back on the trailer. We took it back up the road and basically just put it into the garage. So over the next few days, my dad decided to do all his checks on the car, so he looked over it all. Everything seemed pretty good. Like I said, very original car. Few modifications here and there. I remember the roof and all the interior being painted black, which apparently was a common thing back in the 60s or 70s to paint everything inside black. So they'd all been painted black, but the brigade seats and that still stayed the same. It was just the roof and I think the back of the sun visors. They'd all been painted. Everything else seemed okay. I think after maybe an hour or two of tinkering, my dad managed to get the engine actually running. Wasn't running well, but it was running, so that was a good sign. There was a few modifications, like I said. I think there was wheel arches had been put on and a couple other bits and bobs, but other than that, nothing too fancy. So anyway, my dad's plan for the car was to keep it as original as possible because it was a very original car. There was no point taking it back to bare shell and rebuilding it up as a brand new car. He didn't want that. He wanted this to look patina. So the photo that I put up was basically what it was going to look like. It wasn't going to look much different than that. It was pretty much going to look like a ratty car. But that's what he wanted. So his plan was to get me insured on that car, because at the time of him picking this up, I was maybe, that's probably about 18. Yeah, I think I was 18 when he picked this car up, maybe 19. So insurance for an 18 to 19 year old on a Cooper S is quite expensive. I think it is still today. But anyway, he came back to me saying that he'd found an insurance quote and I was going to be 500 and something pounds for the year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but he worked it out to how much per mile that would cost to actually insure me on the car, and he was a stingy git, so he didn't do it. So that's where the 850 Super came into play, but that's another video. Anyway, so the car, after having everything looked over and everything else, he decided to put aside, because there was other projects on the go, like the 970 behind me. He had that to do as well. So anyway, speed things forward a little bit. He got a new wiring loom for it, because it needed a new wiring loom, because mice had chewed through the last one, as we found a couple of old mice nests inside the car, but luckily they hadn't chewed through any of the interior, thankfully. So we got that fitted, and we got it to the point where the car was nearly finished and ready to go back on. It went away for welding, got a load of welding done, wiring loom was installed, everything was done. I think the carbs were looked at as well, sent away and looked at, and it got to the point where I think the only thing that was happening was you turned the engine on and it just revved its nuts off. Unfortunately, we never really got to the end of that, because not long afterwards my dad got diagnosed with bowel cancer. So that car was originally just going to be something he was going to do tinkering on, but he decided that he wanted to get the 970 finished. So his goal was do the 970 and put that one aside. So the 67S got put into the garage, or shed rather, and it was left. It didn't get touched again. Unfortunately, even with the time scales all changed up, he never got to finish this. He never got to see the end of the 970S. He got about 90% of the way there, but unfortunately he didn't see the end. It was his friends that came and finished it for him. So anyway, back to the 67S, because that's what this video is about. After he passed, we had to decide what we wanted to do with the cars. Myself and my brother were not keen on getting rid of any, because, well, they remind me of our dad. So, you know, we didn't want to get rid of any. However, my mum made the point that we can't really look after 6 Minis, because there's one other one I haven't shown as well, but it's currently a shell, so that's the reason why I've not shown that one. That will be going up for sale at some point, but yeah, I'll talk about that another time. Anyway, so logically going through all the cars, the 850 Super, my dad and I bought just before he passed away, so I didn't want to get rid of that. I didn't want to get rid of the Tweed Grey S that you've all seen, which is normally sitting in the position that I'm sitting just now, but so we get his brake sorted. We just finished the 970, so we didn't want to get rid of that. And the 1071 behind the 970, my brother didn't want to get rid of, and neither did I, to be honest. So the only logical one was the 1967 1275S, because it was the one we had the least memories with, essentially. So that's why we chose it. Anyway, a good friend of the family mentioned to us that he would want to buy it. So anyway, we made a deal with this man. The name of this man is called Dave Greaves. I don't know if anyone's heard of him or knows him or can find him. If you do, please let me know, because I'd like to know where he is. But anyway, he made a deal with my mum. He supplied me a Silver Seal engine for the Super, because the engine had to get taken. The previous engine had to get taken out. So anyway, part of the deal was you'd buy the car and I'd also get an engine out of it. Anyway, brought the engine up, told me everything was fine, we fitted it. Anyway, there was something wrong, so I had to come back out. Anyway, on his second trip up, I thought he was coming to help with the engine. He helped with the engine, but he also took away the S that night, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't realise it was going so soon. Anyway, he told us that he didn't need any of the paperwork. He would come up and get it at a later date. He'll just take the car just now, and yeah, we'll get the money shortly, because he had to go through something with his dad at the time. So anyway, a couple of months passed. We still thought nothing of it, because again, he was a friend of the family. We had trust. We trusted this man. He then didn't contact us for another couple of months, so I had to contact him. I got a message back saying, yeah, he's still dealing with the inheritance from his dad. After that, he stopped answering my messages and my calls. He just ignored them altogether, and then I couldn't get through to him after that. A few months passed, and my mum gets a phone call from another one of my dad's friends from the MCR, and he calls us to say, I believe I have your car. And my mum's a bit confused, because she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, Dave dropped off a Mini Cooper shell, and he's not come to pick it back up. So basically, if you haven't already guessed, what he'd done is he had taken the car, he had stripped it completely for parts, given the shell away to someone to do welding, and then done a runner. That's the gist that I can get from it. So yeah, he told us to come and pick the shell up. So we went down to see it, and yeah, there was the head lining, there was a couple of bits and bobs of the interior, but all the seats, all the brocade trim had gone, and the engine had gone, everything had gone. So it was no longer the original car that we wanted it to be. It was just completely stripped. So that's basically why you don't see any photos of it, because it's no longer a full car. It's just a shell. So anyway, we managed to find, well, another good friend of the family of ours came and bought the shell off us, and luckily enough we still had all the paperwork. So we sold the car to him. He bought the car, and he's going to restore it at some point. So hopefully someday I'll see the car back on the road again. But that is basically why I don't post photos of this car on my channel, because it's a bit of a sore spot. And yeah, if people want to see more photos, I do have some. Again, it's a bit of a shame that it's no longer a full car anymore, but yeah, that's the story of how we bought it and what happened to it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to give me a message. I'll try and answer as many as I can about the cars. If you have questions about this one or any other, feel free to give me a message. Well, anyway, if you stayed to the end, thank you very much. I know I'm not the most exciting person to listen to, but yeah, thanks again.